Gordon, if you would say the prayer, and Mr. Hickox, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve this wonderful county. We ask you to be with us as we make the decisions tonight, and those decisions are hopefully in your favor, Lord. Be with us, lead us, guide us, and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In case you're wondering why I'm conducting the meeting and the chairman is not, he was predicted to be out of town today, but he was able to come back to town in time for our meeting and didn't have time to prepare and study the agenda that we have, so that's your explanation. The first item we have is the adoption of the agenda. There's one item in section 9, old business, letter D, and that's consider an approved update of the pickleball courts, and that was tabled from August the 22nd. We're going to continue to leave that tabled until our next meeting. And he's just trying to get more information, some other bids to make sure we get it correct, because he is definitely not in the pickleball court business. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda with this one?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hickox, and Ms. Hickox,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our regular meeting, which was August the 22nd, 2024. I assume everybody had a chance to read over those minutes. If you don't have any comments or concerns,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. Any comments? Madam Clerk, am I supposed to call you Madam Clerk? What am I supposed to call?
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Next item is presentation and announcements. Is it Shy Duncan and Jan McKinnon? With the Georgia Department of Natural Resource Coastal Resource Division, information about coastal incentive grant.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioner, so much for allowing us a few minutes on your agenda tonight. I'm Jan McKinnon, and I'd like to introduce Shy Duncan, who is a citizen here in Wayne County. So we wanted to just come and let you all know that you are a part of who we work for, Georgia Coastal Management Program. We are housed within Georgia DNR, have been since 1998 when the program was approved, but we are funded through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and about 40% of our dollars that come to our program annually, we pass through to communities and to academic institutions doing research in the 11 coastal county area, as well as state and regional entities. So tonight I just wanted to highlight our Coastal Incentive Grant Program. I think you all have a flyer that looks like this. If not, we will send that to you to highlight the deadlines for our program coming up. Our mission is quite simple. It's balancing economic development with the protection of natural, cultural, historic, and recreational resources. It is a competitive grant program, and it also does require a one-to-one match. But we like to help you figure out what that is and can be within the guidelines that NOAA sets forth. Our deadlines are coming up. December is pre-application deadline, and February is full application deadline, and that's by invitation based off of pre-applications. $80,000 is available per year for up to 2 years. And I wanted to just highlight some of the projects that Wayne County has received in the past. It's been a minute since you all applied for and received a grant. 2010 was a non-point source pollution management grant. In 2009, the Wayne County non-point source pollution management coordinator position. In 2000, the Pig Farm Landing Best Management Practices Demonstration Project, and then back in 1999, Upper River Landing Stabilization and Revitalization Project. So keep in mind flooding issues that you have, stormwater management, recreational trails, educational kiosks highlighting your community's assets. Those are definitely fundable within the program. So we'd like to encourage you to apply, reach out to us. We have contacts on this sheet and the link to our website. So please use us as a resource. Any questions?
So when we reach out to your office, is there someone there that's available to help guide in reference to, like, in other words, maybe even come down and look at some of our issues or stuff we have going on and can make recommendations and tell us, yes, this applies to the grant, or the grant applies to this, and this is what you should go for?
Absolutely.
Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
We do have staff that work in various areas of expertise, so coastal hazards, stormwater management, low impact development, green growth, a variety. We have a wetlands biologist, 2 wetlands biologists on staff as well. Shai is the direct contact, and she can get you to where you need to be in terms of helping to answer those questions. But yes, we meet with communities often, and we can help direct you. We can do everything except write a grant for you.
No, yeah, and that,
And
I appreciate
but we want it,
that.
of course, to be your need and your priority.
Right, right. I'll definitely be in touch with you, because Commissioners, I know when I looked on your website, when I saw that you was going to be on the agenda and was kind of looking over some of the grant opportunities, I know riparian is a big issue for y'all, us too, and we're having some issues with our dam out at Lake Grace, and I think it definitely affects downside the dam, that riparian, buffer that we would like to maintain. So I'll be in contact, and we'll see if we can maybe look at that. Thank you, ma'am.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is presentation, is citizens' concerns. Tony Summerow will be first. I do want to remind you that we do have a 5-minute limit on this. Our decorum, rules of decorum, the chair will enforce the rules of decorum. The purpose of the meeting of the Board of Commissioners is to conduct county business. Meetings shall be conducted in an orderly and a respectful fashion. They are not a forum to belittle, ridicule, or embarrass county commissioners or other officials and county employees. And Mr. Beaver, if you would.
Tony, Mr. Summer, do me a favor and make sure that green light is on that microphone. You might have to,
Green light is on.
okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Before I start, before I get timed, which I'm not quite sure, I've been in plenty presentations in this community, and I've never been timed before, number one. Number two, I'm not quite sure why I'm being why this opportunity and the need for the safety of our community has a time limit when there's several things that need to be timed. I will keep within that time limit, but I'm not quite sure why I am time being discriminated against as a veteran, or maybe a disabled vet, or maybe even an American Indian, or even as a citizen. The citizens in this county are what you all work for.
It's not a discrimination, it's our
Okay,
rules.
sir, I'm speaking, okay? I'm gonna be respectful.
Well, that's not being respectful,
That is being
because you're
very
saying
respectful.
we're being discriminatory,
That's how I feel.
and
So
I'm
Does this
telling
go
you.
against his time?
Do what?
Does this go against his time?
Yes.
What?
So you talking goes against his time?
I just had a
I
statement.
am
had a
handling
statement.
this meeting, I just read the rules. He's accusing us of
I
being
didn't say
discriminatory,
accusatory. I didn't say accusatory.
Well, it
Sir, I
sure
said
sounds
it
like
feels
it to me.
I'm being discriminated against.
and it also says the chairman will conduct it, so.
That's a little
So, sir,
Tater.
from this day on
Ish.
forward, I sure hope that this applies to everybody else that stands in front of you. Last meeting, there was at least 20 minutes given to a certain topic. At another meeting, there was at least over an hour given at a certain topic for people to speak. So that's what I'm saying. If one person is allowed to speak for 20 minutes, and another person is allowed to speak for an hour, and then you tell the next person they only have 5 minutes, that makes them feel like they're being discriminated against, sir. Those are facts. Those are facts. Those are facts. Before I start, I'm like, Sheriff, please, come here for a second. In the last 4 years, now you're coming up here, you've been the sheriff here for 4 years, right? In the last 4 years, I feel as a public safety officer, and as the man that is probably one of the only people that has been trained and is considered an expert in public safety in this county, to watch and review what you've been doing in our county. First of all, he came to you all. He came to you all and he asked for help. And you all listened to him. And I appreciate you taking the time and effort to listen to what this man needed to keep us safe in this community. It's been rare that you get a sheriff that'll stand up and say, this is what we need to maintain our safety. This is what we need, this is what we're gonna happen. And it's gonna even be needed even more in the next future, because we're less safe today because of what's happened in this world, because of what the political policies of this country have placed us in. We are less safe today because of the terrorists in our backyards today. And he's gonna need more of your help. He's gonna need more of your help, but he's gonna need more of your help because we don't have the money as county citizens to pay for the help that he's gonna need. Most of you have not fought against these terrorists that are in our backyards. Most of you have not seen them face to face. Most of you have not worked with the drug cartel that I've worked with. You don't want them in our backyards. There's a reason they're called the cartel, and there's a reason they're called terrorists. And I know you got a hard job in front of you, but I want to give you a little safety. Thank you for what you've done for our community and what you continue to do. I want to thank you for listening to what he had to say and for implementing the safety of what's going on. Thank you, Sheriff, for what you do. And thank you for your men and women, and we pray for them. We pray for you always. Before I start, I just want to say thank you again, commissioners, for this time. Thank God for our first responders. I thank God for every one of them. I know that we're in trouble today. So, and my time starts right now, but before you go, there's a little packet in front of you. In that packet I provided for you is public safety, the awarenesses that we have going on that's around us. I also provided you a risk analyzer, and that comes directly from the EMS Medical Services. I provided you the exact same document that I gave you when I did a briefing last year on public safety and on fatigue, about from the Joint Commissions and why the hospital systems in the United States of America went to 12-hour shifts. And if you go down about halfway, it says exactly in there, the first sentence studies nurses' fatigue, patient safety. After 12 hours, what happens? Exactly the same thing I had before. Errors occur 3 times higher. Errors were occurring, mistakes were being made, and medication errors were being made, and people's safety is placed in justice. That's why they went. And then also, I gave you the documents from the DOT, the FAA, and also from the Department of Transportation on all the reasons why people were required to have duty hours of 12 hours. Also providing you the rest of just a very, very, very brief references to all the national security agencies to say there's a reason why They're trying to fight against fatigue. And then
Mr.
on the last
Mr.
page,
Summerall, that's the end of your 5 minutes. That's what the alarm was. You're welcome to get back on the agenda for next month.
I
We'll
was just trying
we'll
to give you an idea what I
definitely,
gave you, sir.
we'll
That
de-
had nothing to do with what I was talking about.
we'll definitely look over these. And, thank
I
you.
just wait a second. You're saying that
Thank
my
you.
brief didn't start yet? I didn't get a warning to say that my briefing had started officially? I asked you to get a presentation that was included in my 5 minutes.
Sir, we give 5 minutes. We are here to conduct county business. We appreciate you bringing this information to us, and we'll definitely look through it.
Okay, just let you know, we're in neglect right now. You're operating neglect. Last meeting that you had to be, I'll speak it straight up from forward. You let the whole public know that you're operating against your own policies and procedures in this county by allowing your employees to work more than 24 hours at a time. You told the EMS director stood up here, Ms. Hickok even announced it, that the people are being impaired when they're working, and you all authorized it. If that goes to
Okay,
court,
thank you.
you're gonna be
Your
sued.
time's up.
There's more to come.
All right, next item is Miss Christina Benjamin. I assume you heard the rules of decorum.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's allowed. Can I yield my time to Mr. Summerall?
No.
Good evening, everyone. Hope y'all are doing good. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. On September 4th, you were electronically served a notice on constitutional points of clarity. The Georgia Constitution is a contract between we the people and you, our trustees. It is what you, as our elected servants, are governed by, and it specifies our rights, which you are required to protect. One main point in the notice was what is written in our Constitution, that protection to person and property is the paramount duty of government and shall be impartial and complete. When the sheriff worked with both you and the city to establish policies to address homelessness, you were all fulfilling your constitutional duty to protect both the homeless and the housed. When the board passed the county administrator's recommended solar ordinance, you fulfilled your duty to protect the county against abuses by those companies. When Commissioner Hopkins personally checked into and reported on Georgia Power drilling test wells for CO2 storage without first notifying the commissioners or the sheriff, he was fulfilling his constitutional duty. Managing our tax dollars to the point that the road department was well equipped to repair quickly 154 roads after Debbie is fulfilling your constitutional duty to us. Each decision or law that you make as a body or individually is either fulfilling this duty or failing to fulfill this duty. Any law that you enact that is not in pursuance to the Georgia Constitution is a violation against the people and the Constitution that you swore to uphold. Commissioner Hickox last month reposted a clip of Justice Neil Gorsuch's speech, which declared that the people are sovereign in this county. This is reflected in one of the fundamental principles of law. All political power is inherent in the people by decree of God. Thus none can exist except it be derived from them. And, as Justice Gorsuch indicated, ordinary people who care can do amazing things to affect change. This is true in Georgia based on what is written in our Constitution. All government of right originates with the people and is founded upon their will only and is instituted solely for the good of the whole. Public officers are the trustees and servants of the people and are at all times amenable to them. The people of this state have the inherent right of regulating their internal government. Government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people. And at all times, they have the right to alter or reform it the same, whenever the public good may require it. We who are speaking to you today, and will be speaking to you in the future, are those ordinary people who care. And we look forward to working together to ensure our protection, security, and benefit. Finally, it is written in the maxims of law that the main object of government is the protection, preservation of personal rights, private property, and public liberties, and upholding the laws of God. And that a frequent recurrence to fundamental principles and a firm adherence to justice, virtue, and original law are indispensably necessary to preserving the blessings of liberty and good government. I encourage all of you to learn more about these fundamental principles by regularly reading the Bible, the Georgia Constitution, and the maxims of law. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for listening. I'm praying for you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next item is public hearings. We have none. Under old business, consider and approve bids for the Ag Complex concession stand that was tabled from our August meeting. This is money that's given from a grant, not to be, and this Ag Complex is not to be confused with the complex that the Board of Education is building. This is the Equestrian Center. That's the name that it started out under. I would rather call it a multi-purpose complex because it will be used for, is able to be used for a lot more things other than just agricultural or cattle shows and things like that. But we have our bid in our package. Did everybody get a chance to look at that?
Yes.
The bid is for hold on.
1,368.
I don't see it. You got yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, for $101,368. Looks like this is gonna be pretty much the completion of that building. The price we got the last time was just for the labor of, we supposed was for just the labor of laying the block, but this is the completion of that. And this is from a CDBG grant, and we are just kind of the caregivers of this money, and they're asking for our approval on that bid.
Who's asking for the approval on the bid?
Well, so, just to be clear, so what we did is we went ahead and done a budgeted sheet for what the expectations are gonna be on the entire building. The main thing we need tonight is just the bid on the blocks, laying for the blocks.
Who's doing the work?
Well, what we would like to request is Mike Hendricks, who come in at the lowest bid of $5 per block.
So he will be doing all of this work.
No, ma'am, just the block. He's just gonna do the block work. Kirk and the maintenance crew will be doing the rest of the work.
Okay, so, so we have a bid for all kinds of work to be done, but we're only bidding out the block because we're going to in-house build yet another building.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm trying to be extremely humble when I say, when I bid out jobs, maintenance is more than a full-time job in and of itself. So how much maintenance is getting deferred by building these buildings with our maintenance department? I've got multiple requests for the county courthouse. Who's doing the maintenance on the courthouse?
The maintenance crew is.
Okay, so, I respectfully request we bid this whole entire job out to a contractor and let our maintenance department do maintenance around Wayne County, even this building. there's too much deferred maintenance. We still have the election building over here incomplete. That's my feeling on this.
All right, so this one is just for the $12,000, or are we gonna do the total?
No,
For the
it was,
Material, rest of materials.
it was initially just for the $12,000, just for the block, because that's the only part that he's subcontracting out, is the
Okay.
block work.
Okay.
So
Alright.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
is that $5 for him just to lay the block, or is that him furnishing the block also?
No, sir, that's just for him to lay the block.
So we still pay for the block,
Yes, sir.
and we're just talking about getting the block portion of the building. What about the foundation?
Kirk and his crew is going to handle that as well.
Okay, so I don't have my packet with me, so I'm a
Yeah.
little bit, I apologize for not knowing, being able to look at what we're talking about. Okay, that's all I need to know.
So I have one more question. Is this, this building is inside the city limits of Jessup, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the city of Jessup has a city inspector, and if any one of us individually went to build a building, we would have to go to the city in Jessup and be inspected, and there would be a standard. Does Wayne County adhere to the city of Jessup inspection schedule?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure Kirk will be in contact with it, because he usually is. Anytime he does something here in the city, he always calls Mr. Herron, and Mr. Herron comes out and looks at it.
We didn't include the city of inspector on the election building at all. So I respectfully request, I don't know when this decision was made about, we're only going to bid out block, because each month I get less and less information. I respectfully request we bid out this whole entire job.
I think one of the reasons, obviously, as you can imagine, one reason for wanting to use our maintenance shop was just the cost savings. That was the biggest part. The grant was acquired before I came on through, obviously it's under Wayne County, but it's, through the IDA and reference to them doing the equestrian center. And I think part of their, they took in-kind work, obviously, from, us clearing the land and everything and prepping it and getting it ready. And then that was the other idea that they wanted to do, was have us do as much work as possible just in order to save money. I think the total grant was like $350,000.
I thought where's the fence? I thought the fence was going to eat up most of the grant money.
The fence, I think there's two different ones. Probably it's what they call the panels is the most expensive part, and it's not in yet. But the fence itself is already up. They've already put it up, and Mr. Randy and some of his helpers and stuff put it up.
The cost of repairing sometimes really outruns the cost of economically constructing. I respectfully request we bid this job out.
All right, so now I'm looking for a motion for the labor on the block, on just laying the block, and that would be $12,150. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I second it. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hopkins? Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hickox?
No.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is to consider and approve Lake Grace rental agreement tabled from August 22nd, 2024 meeting.
Commissioners, you have in front of you the lease agreement with the changes that are highlighted in yellow that we added to it.
Mr. Attorney, will this lease agreement and the procurement of this tenant violate any of the federal fair housing laws?
Not that I'm aware of, Ms. Commissioner.
Can I have a more decisive, can I have a yes or no on that?
No, I mean, obviously, I'm not familiar with, as we're sitting here, without any time to go back and look, the parts that I'm familiar with, the fair housing parts of it is a single residential house that's rented out is not subject to that without a real estate broker or agent involved.
We're a county government.
But we're not using a real estate agent or a broker.
Yes, and I don't know that it's in the best interest of the citizens of Wayne County to lease out to handpick, and I'm sure it's for very, very good reasons. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning whether we're setting a precedence for, right now, the people of Wayne County are going through such a struggle on rent. The average rent a year ago, you had to make $19 an hour to pay the average rent in Wayne County. And now we're going to rent out a house for $400 a month. I just don't see how this isn't going to come back and blow bad light on Wayne County. I mean, if it was part of a contract of a county employee, I'm great. Here's your contract. Here's your compensation, and your compensation includes a house at Lake Grace. I'm fine with that. But we seem to have hand-selected someone and for this and maybe part of that, and if you drive around the lake a couple times, and I don't mean to minimize that. Everybody who works very hard, and I don't even know this person. I don't want to do anything that opens our county up to liability. That's all I'm saying about it.
Okay, and it's not to drive around a couple times. It's before and after each shift, and we do have a lot of calls out there and problems, and we feel like that by doing this, we will have somebody on location that would be able to respond quicker, since we don't have a caretaker living in that house. When I came on to the commission, the caretaker lived out there completely rent-free, and the taxpayers paid all of that, and this way we can still have the protection and also at least make some money off of that house and still get the protection that the people need out there, because there is a lot of traffic out at Lake Grace. All right, I'm gonna open the floor for a motion to approve this rental agreement.
What about electricity?
About what?
The electricity?
The electricity is included in this, and I don't have a problem maybe upping it $100 to $500 a month to include that. But this electricity is also tied in with the well at the main pavilion area, and also the building, the maintenance building over there. All of those are on the same meter, so it definitely would not be fair for them to pay for all of the electricity bill when we use those facilities also.
I'll make the motion with that change.
For the rent to be $500 per month.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas? Ms. Hickox?
No.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Next item is budget for general fund, revolving loan fund, and ARP tabled from August 22nd. Mr. Drawdy?
You have in your books basically the general fund balance that we had talked about in our budget work sessions in reference to the expenditures and revenues. The expenditures that we had presented to you were $33 million, and this is taking into consideration what we termed as option 3 that the consensus of the board wanted to go with. So the expenditures were $33,539,464.73, with revenues of $31,206,299, and that left the difference of $2,333,165.73, which would be taken from lost. And then if you'll see on the ARP budget, this is for 2025, is $2,177,171. And then a revolving loan fund is $38,948.76. And that's what we received from Williams Brother Trucking.
Mr. Drawley, by taking the 2.3 million out of loss, will that still leave us with a 17%
Yes, sir, it does.
minimum? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Drawdy,
Yes, ma'am.
if everything stays exactly the same in 2025, when 2026 budget rolls around, where would the proposed shortfall come from?
It's going to have to come from the millage rate.
A tax increase?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have any more questions.
Aren't you glad we didn't go with your 2 mil decrease last year?
No, sir, I'm not. I would much rather we have gone with consolidation and lighten the burden on the people who actually pay the bills.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve the 25 budget for general fund revolving loan
So
and
moved.
ARP? Second. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Hickox?
No.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes. Item D was tabled, or continuation of the table. We have paperwork in front of us that we were given for new business. Item A, Fire Chief Jared Huffman, consider and approve purchase of the fire vehicles. And this will be for a mini pumper at $215,000. And we also have 2 fire trucks at $995,489.34. Yes. All right, I'll open the floor for a motion to purchase these.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it. Comments and concerns. Do we have somewhere to store these vehicles?
Yes, sir. One of the engines will replace one that's currently out of service that failed pump testing last year. So that truck will probably be sold at an auction. It's not really worth being repaired. The other one is going to replace one of our other engines, whether we sell it or maybe consider donating that one to prison as well. But one of the engines will go into the Matthew Springs station, one's going to go into the Gardack station, so we have a new truck in each end of the county. The mini pumper will either go to Anderson Drive or Madrid Springs, depending on what the plan is for part-time people starting next year. Wherever it's going to be, most likely they're going to operate out of.
And the mini pumper is for more rapid response.
Yes, sir. It's I think in the work session I referred to as quick response vehicles. It's basically what the part-time people use as their daily vehicle to move around the county. It does have a fire pump on it, just like an engine would, so they can use it for more often than just your standard quick response vehicle. But they'll be able to respond to medical calls, vehicle accidents, and they can take it to structure fires as needed as well.
Where will the money come to pay for these?
One of the engines is coming out of One of the engines
ARP,
is coming out of ARP, and then the other one's coming out of SPOS 4.
plus 4.
Fire. Yes, that's
Fire?
correct. Yeah, fire, and then the mini pumper is going to come out of SPOS 4 public safety.
Hey, Paul, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I thought when we were getting these new fire engines, you know, I know we had donated one to the prison guard, or we were thinking about, because the one that they had, you know, is barely, for a good lack of term, has had its day. When we get these 2 new ones, I thought we had talked about maybe taking the 1 or 2 that we're going to retire, and the prison crew would get that.
Yeah, that's what, yes, sir. Chief Huffman had just addressed that. And you can, Chief, if you want to
Okay,
go
I
ahead.
couldn't hear him. He was breaking in and out. It must be in the microphone.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. I'll get him to say it again.
No, it's okay. I'm good. As long as the prison crew's going to get one of these ones that we retire, because I think they're a great asset, you know, for fire protection
Yes, sir.
for our county.
Yes, and that would be my recommendation, once the new trucks come in and we get them in service, then I would bring that back to the board to see what their wishes would be.
So with the budget we just passed, how many part-time firemen, Wayne County firemen, will we have in 2025?
So what we planned for was starting in January to have 2 part-time firefighters working Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 to start with. To kind of help us get things in order, get the inventory done. And then somewhere hopefully towards the middle or end of the year, hopefully start working towards having 24-hour coverage with those 2 part-time people and hopefully 7 days a week. And it's in my current plan, which hasn't been approved by anybody yet, that hopefully 2026 we can start potentially hiring a couple full-time firefighters.
So do you have a 5-year kind of plan? How big will our fire department grow to? What's our goal?
So our goal would be to have at least 4 people full-time to respond countywide. Ideally, we would have about 6 to 8 full-time within 5 years that cover the whole county. That way they can kind of be spread out for a faster response.
We do have a fire consultant, and I reached out to him last week when this came in the book, and he said that he had talked to you about it, and he gives this his absolute stamp of approval. It will benefit people and taxpayers of Wayne County.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCreary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox.
Yes.
Next item is B, road superintendent consider and approve purchase of road equipment. The first item we have on there is a road grader. We have 2 bids. I did speak with some of the actual grader operators. The lower bid is for a Caterpillar, the higher bid is for a John Deere, apples to apples basically, but the operators that I spoke with would much rather operate the John Deere rather than the Caterpillar. I personally don't run a road grader, have never run one of the new ones, so I don't know, but my recommendation would be that we go with the John Deere motor grader because they're in them 40 hours a week when we have storms more than that, and they're more user-friendly from what I gathered from the operators that I spoke with.
I second that on the John Deere. I got the same information, Kevin, from the road department.
Okay. All right, so mine's in the form of a motion, and you're gonna second it?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments?
So I went out to the road department and looked at the John Deere, and also went out and looked at the older ones and new ones. They're all yellow. If anybody cares, they're yellow. So, I had to understand why we needed the extra money. So sometimes you drive down a dirt road and you feel like you're rolling over a washboard. Okay, that's the way you feel in this particular cheaper unit all the time. And when we had that storm and they went out there 40 hours straight, it is it's very rough on them inside the cab of this thing. It's hard to keep, and I have driven a motor grader, I'm just saying. I did that. Anyway, I'm absolutely going to support this motion because for what these folks do, I mean, you have to have equipment. You can't perform a job without the right equipment, and this is definitely the right equipment.
All right, so I'm gonna break these up. They have two different pieces of equipment that we're bidding on. Or do we need to do them together, or does it matter?
Go ahead. I think, I mean, it's on your agenda, just approved purchase of road equipment, so I think you can do it either way.
Okay. So the other item that they're asking for is, they gave a bid on one tractor with a, batwing mower, but they're actually in need of two because we have, not to bash Kubota, but one of they've had nothing but problems out of the Kubotas. I happen to own Kubotas and I don't have any problem with mine, but apparently it has something to do with riding on the slope all the time, wearing the bearings out. Right. But that's what they're asking for is two of the John Deere 6105E cab tractors with a batwing mower on the back, and those will total
222,400.
$222,400 for both of those with the mowers. As Commissioner Hopkins said, if we don't, you know, a lot of people don't understand why the road department doesn't get to their road in a timely fashion. They have multiple tasks. They keep the roads, the side of the roads mowed. They keep the middle of the roads graded. They have a lot of responsibility. Apparently they utilize their employees in several different tasks that they have to do, and if we don't keep them good equipment that they can operate with, such as our last storm, they were able to repair the roads and get them at least passable for medical and school buses and all of that pretty quickly because they did have good equipment. So I'm going to open the floor for the motion for the John Deere road grader at $307,500 and the two tractors at $222,400.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any more comments?
Only comment I have, Kevin, is where, and I apologize, I should know this. Where is this coming out of? What money?
The motor grader is coming out of SPLOST 4, and then the two tractors with the mowers are coming out of a combination of ARP and SPLOST 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So will this replace the tractor that got burned up, or is that a total insurance deal, something separate? No, this is one of them.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know as good as I do, when we bought the other one, it was a lot cheaper. So this is going to replace it, and they have not finalized the burnt one yet.
Okay.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. McCreary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Next item, look at that, he's already getting up. Mr. Patrick Parson on the purchase of equipment. What you turned in to us was, let me get to it. I understand that after you looked at the inventory that we had, I know you asked for some equipment the last time, and you're asking for an additional auto loader and 2 more cots because the new ambulance that we have ordered, I don't know if you've ordered it yet, but we approved, comes with an auto loader but not a cot, and that's why you're asking for these additional, so that every ambulance will have an auto loader and a cot.
Correct.
Okay. and that's at the total of $92,707.12.
And that also puts us back up to the state standard for our cots.
Okay. All right, I'll open the floor for a motion to approve the auto loader and 2 additional cots.
So move, Mr. Chairman. I'll second.
Any more comments? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hickok?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jared. Next item is the sale of property, parcel number J14-6. That bidding ended today at 2 o'clock,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir, that's,
And y'all opened the bids.
and we had 2 bids, one for the J14-6 mapping parcel. The $5,000 was the starting bid, and we received a check from Cozy Nest for the 10%, which was $510. And then the other one we received was for S2-70, which was Hill Avenue in Scriven. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Let's do this. Let's do
One
them
at a
one at a
time?
time.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
please, so
I'm
we
sorry.
can address the ones that did not have a bid on
Yep.
it, please.
Okay, yes, sir.
So we have a bid on the first one, J14-6, and that's of,
5510.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I make a motion to approve that bid.
Oh, yeah, Cozy Nest. I'm sorry, it was 5,010.
5,000.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that motion. Any comments? And that did meet our minimum bid
Yes, sir, it did.
requirement. Yep.
It did.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Ms. Hickok?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
All right, next item, consider and approve sale of property for parcel number J22-37-384.
We did not receive a bid for that property.
Okay. And I think we have been advised to continue that, to
Yep.
extend that time frame.
I'm sorry, yes, sir. And Miss Kelly was gonna be here tonight, with Parker Realty that's handling that. And she had something come up. She just let us know that she couldn't be here. But she did, when she come by and saw Miss Amanda and I last week, she said that we didn't get a bid on that property, that she would suggest running it for another month.
So I make a motion, we extend that through next month before our next meeting at 2 o'clock.
Well, and here's the issue that you run into. We can start running the advertisements in the paper. We're already at September 9th. You have to give, I think it's by law, we have to give a minimum of 15 days for the bids to be accepted there. So technically, we may have enough time to get the bids in by next month. With something like this, though, just kind of filling y'all out as far as how you want this relayed to Kelly and how she advertises it. You want to maybe extend it out for 2 months
To
and give her some
November
time
meeting.
and give her some time to market it and reach out maybe to some contacts, see if we can get some bids, and then we can start running the advertisements to accept bids. Let's see, the first part of October and have them for the November meeting, if that's okay with y'all.
Okay. So I make a motion, we extend that and we table that until our November meeting.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Ms. Hickok?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
All right, item F, sale of parcel S2-70.
And that was the Hill Avenue, in Scriven. It was, the starting bid amount was $1,000, and we received, an earnest check from Cozy Nest for $100.10, which was the 10% of the $1,000.
I make a motion that we accept that.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox.
Yes.
Next item is sale of property for parcel number 93-17.
And we did not receive a bid for it. And
Okay.
same thing, Ms. Kelly asked if we would want to do it another month. She did have a call on that particular property, but now it's way out near the Brantley County line, so
Okay.
it might take a little bit.
I make a motion that we table that one until our November meeting also. Is the motion going to
I'll
die
second.
for lacking of a
I'll
second?
second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hickox.
Yes.
Sorry, I do that. Ms. Hickox. Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Next item is H, consider and approve deeding land to IDA. We all got a aerial view of that property. That is land located behind Kmart.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And this land it's gonna be for the sale of another portion of land for the IDA. And we have not utilized, I don't know how long we have owned this property. But it's my understanding that this would be our best avenue to deed this over to the IDA so that they can sell and use that for developing.
Kevin, how many acres are we talking about?
7.63 acres. Have you seen the aerial view of it?
I have not. I apologize.
So on the right side of Kmart parking lot, it goes straight back to Wayne Terrace. There's a ditch.
Terrace.
There's a ditch in between Wayne Terrace and that property, and then it goes to the left, back behind.
So when we say we're going to deed it to them for them to sell it to raise money, or we're deeding it to them because it connects to some land that they already own?
We're deeding it to them because they have a buyer, a possible buyer for the property that is on the right side, which they own.
Okay.
And in order for that sale to go through, they would rather have this property also.
Understood. It would help to
And
sell.
it'll be
Thank you.
back on the tax books.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, I make a motion that we deed the land to the IDA.
Second.
I second that.
And we don't have a parcel number on that land.
Well, I think one of the things we was gonna do is see if y'all could, give, part of what y'all would do tonight is give the authorization for the county attorney to start moving forward to
On
get
the
that
deed,
deed
okay.
fixed. Yes, sir.
To transfer it actually next meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll probably, once he gets that done, we'll bring it up in the next meeting for
Okay.
the actual transfer itself.
But I do think that the mapping parcel is 86-53-5.
It is.
Okay, so I just make the motion that we proceed, or that our lawyer proceed with the deeding of the land, and then in our next meeting, we'll approve it.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
So I did some research on this, and it turns out that this was IDA land to begin with, and it was deeded over to Wayne County when we started in 2016. That's when something happened for that piece of property to come when we started building the,
Defects.
I think
I
the
think-
building next to DFAX. DFAX has
Pineland.
been there. I think it happened with that. So
Yeah, Pineland.
at some point in time, that's how it went from IDA to Wayne County. I'm great with this going back to IDA. I just want to make sure that the money and the funds from the sale of this property stays with the IDA so that they can continue doing the work that they do. Okay?
At one time, they were talking about putting a cemetery there, and that subdivision didn't like that too good.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary.
Yes. Next item, consider and approve agreement with the Georgia Association of Conservation District for the Natural Resources Conservation Service Office. This is a 2-year agreement we go through every year, and this is just kind of like a pass-through that we have to approve every other year. And this is for payment of the secretary, I believe, or is it?
Yes, sir. It's in reference to NCRS. They assist landowners, interested landowners who want to, look at conservation and different type projects that they offer. And so what happens is we pay the salary of the lady that helps them with that, and then we get reimbursed on a quarterly basis. And the total is, I think, $49,600.
All right, do I have a motion that we approve this agreement?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Any comments? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickox,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
All right, next item is appointments. The election board, originally Commissioner Gordon had presented us with a board that would have 7 people on the board, 5 of which we would appoint. Then they would appoint a election superintendent or supervisor, and then the assistant. And that failed, so we waited, and the state gave us their requirements because they are requiring each Georgia county to go to a election board. They gave us the provisions and the requirements for those election boards, which will be the Board of Commissioners will appoint 3 people, and those 3 people will appoint an election supervisor or hire an election supervisor, and then that election supervisor will hire the assistant. We went through this process because this is a very important process, I feel like, for voter integrity, and we have to keep up with our voter integrity. We were given 5 names from the Democratic Party. We were given 5 names from the Republican Party. And we also, in addition to that, we asked for anybody that was interested in it to turn in a resume so that we could also look at other individuals that may have been overlooked in the that maybe not have been going to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party meetings. So I'm going to open the floor. I think the best thing that we can do, because we have such a diversity of people on all of these in here, is to open the floor for us to nominate people from each of these categories.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Iman Johnson.
I'll second.
Okay.
So, has anybody had a discussion? Has anybody on this board discussed this election board? And the appointees to it?
Have you discussed them with these people?
No, discussed it with each other.
What?
I'm just asking, because there's 5 of us and 3 people, so if you nominate first and second, and then you nominate and you nominate, then I'm just saying, how do we get 3 when there's 5 of us? Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just asking if there's been any consensus on a discussion of who's gonna be on this board.
Well, and I mean, I've got people that I would like to be on there for sure. I mean, because I looked over all of them, and the ones with the resumes, I read them and looked over them. I think that's why Chairman Gordon started with a 7-member board. There's a lot of time taken up, especially with the machines and getting the election ready for the voters to be able to come out. And by doing it the way he wanted to do it, or he, presented to us, it would be each commissioner would appoint 1 person, and that way, if the party majority changed in the future, that there would be adequate representation. And I think you were the one that voted against that. So now we're up to having to go with the state's recommendation or requirements, and they're requiring us to have to appoint 3 people.
Didn't the statute allow for 5?
Do what?
3 or 5? And I'm not even questioning that. I'm just saying how to determine how to get 3 on the board.
We're going.
That's just my
We're
question.
gonna make motions, and if they pass, if any of them don't pass, then we'll just go open the floor to another motion.
Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is that all the comments, Madam Clerk? And this motion is for, pronounce her name again. Amon Johnson, I'm sorry, Amon. Did you hear that, Commissioner Hopkins?
Do what now?
This motion is for Amon Johnson to be
Yes,
appointed to
I'm
the
familiar
election
with her.
board. We're fixing to take a vote on it.
Okay.
Ms. Hickox?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. McCrary?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion for, off of a different list. That was off the Democratic Party list. One of the Republican Party list, as I said, we got 5 names off of it. I'd like to make the motion for Dawson Trapnell to be appointed to this board.
I'll second.
Any comments?
Yeah, I do have a comment on that. I love Dawson. He's a great guy. He was on the RDC board, and he resigned because he didn't have enough time to participate in that board to the level that he needs. I'm a very heavy participant in the Republican Party. And I don't know who gets to make the next motion?
I don't know.
So I think Dawson is a fantastic human being. I don't know, I think Christina Benjamin and Sarah of Seabrand, either one would be a stronger voice for election integrity. Not that I just don't know your stand on election integrity. They have made very hard stance. I'm nothing, okay, good. That's just my opinion on that.
And we definitely didn't want to insult anybody in here. And that's why it would be better if we had 5 people on there. I mean, if we had 7 people, 1 from each commissioner.
We could have 5. 1 from each commissioner. The law allows it.
The state's requiring us
No,
to have
yeah, the
3.
statute says 3 or 5.
You
It
voted
does.
against that, Jane.
No, I voted against 7. When have you ever found 7 people that could work together? The state statute allows for 3 or 5. Anyway,
We have a motion on the floor
In a second.
in a second. Can you call the roll?
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickok.
yes.
Yes, sir.
I want to
Shocking.
make a motion for Joshua Griffin.
Okay.
Joshua has IT experience, and I think that's very well needed.
I'll second that.
But at least we know nobody talked about this.
Definitely a diverse group. All right, we have a motion in a second.
Mr.
Madam Clerk.
I
McCrary,
agree with, I agree with, Mr. Mike. You know, we need we need somebody with an IT background, especially when we're, you know, with the machines that we're using. So, I think he'd be a great addition to our board. Just my opinion.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickok.
I think we picked 3 people of the utmost integrity, and I appreciate that. I don't appreciate being excluded from the process. My vote is yes.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
Next item on under appointments is item B, Hospital Authority. Carletha Davis,
Mr.
District 4.
I don't
Yes,
have a B.
Mr. Chairman. I'm saddened to have to make this appointment because Ms. Davis was a dear friend and a colleague in the school system. And her husband is a good friend of mine, but as you know, she expired. I've got 3 names that I have to submit, and then the hospital authority will pick one. Ms. Benita Weatherspoon, Mrs. Lorraine Jackson, and Mrs. Melissa Thomas.
Did you get all of those?
Yes, thank you.
And if you will, send the information to her if this
Yes.
passes. I make a motion that we accept these names. The hospital's the only one that we have that requires 3 names.
Yes.
And then they will pick from those
Right.
3 names.
That's Jackson, Witherspoon, and Thompson.
Thomas.
Thomas.
No relation.
All right, I made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickok,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary.
Yes. Next item is also through District 4, and that's,
Yes.
goodness, boy, you got a tough one.
Mr. Chairman,
This is Solid Waste
yeah,
Authority.
this has been a little tough the last couple of months, but as we all know, Mr. Felton Bird expired and was a good board member. So, with a lot of consideration and talking to both, talked to the son, and I talked to the grandson. The grandson is now working with the company. So he agreed, and I'm gonna recommend Felton C. Burke IV to serve, finish out his grandfather's term.
I'll second that.
You call him Shelton?
The 4th,
Yes. Felton C. Burke IV.
okay.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Hickok,
Yes.
Mr. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. McCrary,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
All right, next item is with the county administrator. I guess you're gonna give us the
Yes.
financials.
Yes, if in your book, Ms. Amanda has placed your financials in there, and you'll see for the July 2024 budget report compared to July 2023 with ARP, the revenues for 24 is $1,319,442.93. For 23, they were $1,311,723.07. Overall revenues were up from 2023 by about 0.5%. Expenditures of 2024, $2,744,684.31. 2023's is $2,045,290.06. Overall expenses are up from 23 by 34%. And you can also see the numbers without ARP for your reading the same.
So the expenditures were up 34%?
Well, compared to 23, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, was there any I mean, was it a major thing? Was it inflation? Was it, because we're out, not, our revenue stayed flat,
Yes.
okay?
The only thing we had, and I looked at that as well, you know, one of the things that I do when Amanda gives me the reports, the first thing I do is typically go through and kind of compare the time of year we're at and what the budget looks like for 24. And then I'll look at what we compared to from last year. And a lot of times you can see a large difference in a line item. When y'all are looking through your budgets and you're looking at that second and third column that shows 23 and 24, you know, health insurance sticks out, but then again, really for 23, even though we were up in 24, you know, 24, there's just one line item now because we moved it all up under financial. And so in 23, it's there, it's just spread out all through the budget. So going through all the departments, the biggest thing that stands out is from the increase from 23, obviously, were salaries. There was a couple of departments had some increases from like postage where they didn't have last year. There was some building maintenance, and still there was not that big number that I kept looking for, and it was pretty confusing. So I actually got Angie to run the numbers for me again just to make sure. And there is a difference of course, now this is with the health insurance and the AR or airport improvement grant, but that was only like $88,000. But there's close to a $700,000 difference there. And so when Amanda comes back, her and I are going to go through it and see if I can find out, you know, because it's still just kind of, Commissioner, I'm 100% agreement with you. It kind of confused me because I didn't see that one big number sticking out like you normally would. But we are in line for this time of year.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, well, you want me to go on? That's all for the financials. You want me to go on to my part for the county administrator?
No, that's all your part. No, go ahead.
I had sent y'all an email during the week, or last week, rather. The county attorney and myself have been working on an issue where we received, I think Judge Caldwell first received it, and then the chairman received a letter from the district attorney in reference to not doing juvenile court anymore. As you know, that's his office handles Superior Court and juvenile court and has for 20, 30 years, I think. Due to lack of manpower, he's saying that he's pulling out of that. We were then contacted by Appling County because they received the same letter. And I told y'all in my email at first, you know, when the county attorney and I talked about it, and I talked to the Appling County attorney and Appling County administrator, I was really kind of hoping and thinking that this would be an easy fix. The more we delved into it, now we're hearing that he's pulled out of all 5 counties. The main issue is I don't believe what we're going to have to do is fund a juvenile solicitor for juvenile court come October 1. I don't think at this time I have enough information for y'all to make a decision. I think what I would request is possibly, you know, as the county attorney and I continue to talk to some of these other folks and see how they're going to handle it, and then come up with the best practices for us and what we can do about it. At that point, maybe if we can call a work session or something and handle it, because it needs to be done by October 1. Because he's pulling out, like I said, at the end of this month.
How long do you think it's gonna take y'all to get information on that? And
I mean, so the things, we've kicked around several different ideas. The first one was the simplest, I thought, but then the more we talked about it, I kind of saw after talking with Mr. Beaver that it might not be as simple. So when we talked with Appleton County, we had talked about just, you know, hiring a part-time solicitor. They had someone in mind that they could use. And to give you some background, the way it's worked through the DA's office is we've got 3 ADAs over here at our office that handle Superior Court. Typically what they had was an attorney from Brunswick, the Brunswick office, that would come down twice a month and handle juvenile court here in Wayne County, and then also handle it in Appleton County. So because of that, we initially thought Appleton County had someone in mind that they thought would take the position. And like I kind of spelled out in the email, it's not as simple as just hiring an attorney to do this, because most of these attorneys that we do hire for part-time, they obviously have their private practice. And in juvenile cases, they're different than adult cases from the standpoint, and Mr. Beaver and the sheriff can help me out with this if I get it wrong, but if one is arrested and placed in YDC, it automatically triggers where you have to have a 72-hour hearing. So then what happens is whoever that attorney is that's handling juvenile solicitor duties, they've got to schedule that and be in court for it, which means now they have to take their private practice stuff and put it to the side. So ideally, it has to be a salary that's going to be enough to entice them, that they recognize, okay, I've got to have, you know, I know I'm going to be there twice a month, but then if I do have to, if I get a call and I have to make a 72-hour hearing, I've got to drop everything else and take care of that. As we went through that and talked about it, one of the things that come up was, well, what about the ministerial duties around that position, from the standpoint that those files and all the paperwork that has to be done has to be either sent to the clerk's office or the DA's office, and it has to be taken care of. So you would have staff to do that as well. So then Mr. Beaver talked about possibly running it through the state solicitor's court, that if we hired or gave the assistant state solicitor, if we gave them additional money, and then maybe the secretary that works for us full-time in the solicitor's office, you know, gave her additional money to take on these additional duties, still thinking that we could do this for around $30,000. But I think just working out those details and making sure, I mean, I could go, yeah, hey, let me spend up to $30,000 and we'll fix it. And I think we could, but I would rather come to y'all with a finalized, concrete, detailed plan where y'all can, you know, kind of sign off on it and say, yeah, we know exactly what we're doing here.
How long has the district attorney been handling juvenile court?
At least going back to, at least when Stephen Kelly was DA, so you're talking about at least 25 probably years ago, if not more.
And how much notice did we get that he was no longer going to be handling juvenile court?
My understanding that he sent the notices out, was it September 1st, that he was going to pull out September 30th, maybe a month.
I think it might have been less than that, because I think the chairman forwarded it to me just last week.
The letter is dated September 4th.
Okay. But go
I
ahead.
think the juvenile court judges may have gotten a couple of days more notice than what we did.
And there's no requirement, there's no notice requirement. I mean, if you go to court and sue somebody and be ridiculous, they get 60 days to answer the nonsense.
Unfortunately, statutorily, he can pull out of juvenile court. That's the only court that he can pull out of.
Is our budget with him categorized? Can we pull a portion of budget money to the DA's office to fund this somewhere else? It has to be done, and then we've already allotted money for it.
And that is one of the items that we're looking at, that I would like to come back with y'all. And that's one reason, Commissioner, that I wanted to have that information for y'all, because if that happens, obviously, at that point, the 24 budget would have to be amended, so that's a decision that, you know, you're gonna have to do anyway, so instead of trying to do a decision tonight, then coming back and having y'all amend the budget, you know, within the next couple of weeks, Mr. Beaver and I talked, and we'd just rather kind of wrap everything up in one meeting.
It is something that's gonna have to have a remedy though, apparently before October 1st, because otherwise you put some juvenile prosecutions in jeopardy at that point.
Were all 5 counties given the same deadline?
It's, to my understanding right now, I hadn't heard anybody that was given past September 30th as a deadline.
Okay.
So everybody in our circuit should be probably in the same time frame as we are.
All right. Thank you, and I hope y'all can get that information to us sooner than later so we don't have a lapse in whatever we've got to do for
Yes.
representation.
No, we definitely will. We'll have something by then. The last thing I wanted to bring up was this, and I was gonna wait, but I guess I will, because I know she would rather I do it when she wasn't here, not when she is here, because it would embarrass her. But I just wanted to let y'all know that Amanda Hanna, our county clerk, put in for the Public Finance Leadership Academy, and it's a cohort where they pick 20, essentially administrators, clerks, several people can apply for it, but they only do 20 a year. And so we got Kel Harris, he wrote her a nice recommendation letter, and she got accepted into that academy. So I'm very proud of her. That's a big deal. Yeah.
Can you do that one again next month while she's here?
Oh, yeah, I'll be happy to. That's all I have, sir.
Next on our is, I guess you already took care of the county clerk. Angie, do you
Yes,
have
sir, I
something you want to say? All right, and the next item is with the county commissioners, Commissioner Thomas.
No, all I want to do is commend our road department on a tremendous job they've been doing with the amount of weather we've been experiencing. And he can tell you, I've been saying this for years, since I've been with ACCG, that we have the best kept roads in the state.
You're exactly right. A lot of people don't understand what all goes into that, and I see more and more every day, and I get a lot of, second to Commissioner Hopkins, I'm the second in line for the most dirt roads in this county, and I'm not sure that I don't have more than he does, but I'll let him take that. But yeah, phenomenal job.
Yeah, they do. I get a lot of calls because I'm kind of like you. I get a lot of rural, and whenever that call comes in, it's always taken care of. And within 24, 36 hours, it's handled. So
To the best of their ability with the conditions that we
Yeah.
have.
This has a little humor to it, but I think you need to hear this. I got a call from a constituent who lives in the county, and water was running on her property, and she just put a nice manufactured home there. I think it was about $189,000 manufactured home. And she said that she had 2 culverts, but the ditches wasn't dug right, or whatever the case may be. And I looked at it, and I took pictures. And I looked around the yard, they cut the trees down. And I said, well, ma'am, I said, how long you been here? She said, about 4 or 5 months. I said, they cut these trees down to put your manufactured home here. I said, so was this part was full of cypress trees?
oh no, oh no.
Okay.
Did that tell you anything?
Yeah.
Is that all you have,
That's
Commissioner?
it for me.
Commissioner Hopkins, items with the commissioners, do you have anything?
I second everything y'all said about the road department. That's all I have. Thanks.
So I saw a
Mr.
Facebook
Hickox.
post this weekend of a mother that said, our basketball team is practicing in the rain. This we're inside of our SPLOST now, and the community center is on the SPLOST. And I don't know if I misunderstood what you said, because you said the ag complex would do more than just service the agricultural community. We can't play basketball at an ag complex. And we cannot twirl batons. And we can't put a walking track indoors with air conditioning for our senior citizens. This community center is absolutely critically important for all ages of Wayne County. We need multiple basketball courts and volleyball use. We need multi-purpose rooms. The AA is looking for a place to do their, and they do good work. If you're coming off of these addictions, there's a place right there that you can do your vital work. This community center is of the utmost importance, and we've got to get this conversation started, and we need to at least put out a monkey survey to the folks in Wayne County. What's the most important thing for them to see inside the center? It needs to jump up the priority list. That's all I got.
Commissioner Gordon?
I just want to thank Mr. Drawdy for tabling the Keith Higgins thing. I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. I was on vacation for the past 2 weeks, and when I got an email that was basically the same as the letter you just read. And I had numerous conversations from Wyoming while I was on vacation, and I spoke with the chairman of Glenn County, and I just think there's a lot that we need to talk about. But I think we need to get together sometime before the end of the month and not let this deadline run out, because this juvenile court is important to Wayne County. We've got to make sure that that's done. But other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
I myself would like to I know they're already gone, Jared Huffman and Patrick Parson for the job that they're doing and the inventory that they're having to go through to make sure that we are all in compliance, or at least, everything has an expiration date. I don't care what it is. If it doesn't, you'll find out when it is. But for them to go through from point blank to go through the inventory to make sure that we are compliant with everything that we have, and I know they still have a ways to go in getting everything up to date, but I would like to thank them for doing that. The road department, y'all always phenomenal. A lot of people don't realize Friday night I didn't get any rain. Crossroads got 3 inches of rain. Ties the issues that we have to make sure if somebody's in danger with their road not passable, that's certainly going to be one of the first things on their list to get taken care of before they get to other roads. So if you feel like you're neglected, just think they're doing something that's possibly a safety hazard or something like that, and they're working on it. Rather than your road that may be muddy and uncomfortable. That's all I have. Thank y'all for coming. I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Leadership Wayne, for coming tonight.